Yeah.
Ordered Phil, check us out.
You know what time it is.
This is the Mighty Soldiers exclusive.
Yeah. Let's get it. Let's get it.
How you guys doing? I'm Andy with Mighty Soldiers Trades. Today we have a special guest with us. We have Ryan Faloona from Benzinga, and he's going to quickly go over basically the power of this platform, Benzinga Pro. And really quickly, Ryan, if you wouldn't mind, can you introduce yourself and how you got into trading and how you got that passion, that desire? And
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks. First of all, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me, talk about this, because this is indeed a huge, huge life passion. I mean, this goes all the way back to high school. I was in a business class in high school, just one of the required classes, and I ended up really, really liking it. The teacher, when we were explaining finance and the stock market and all that, we watched Wall Street or parts of it in class, and that was my first exposure to that movie. I saw that movie. I really enjoyed that movie, and I really kind of liked business. I liked business as a whole, but I also liked finance and the market, and I never really studied it in school. So that one class was in high school, but then after that, my major was business, but it wasn't really, finance or the market. I do have a finance background, but it wasn't stock market related. So I knew from a young age that I wanted to be involved, but it was one of those things where I didn't really know how. And when I was younger, I didn't have the capital required to get involved, which was a big barrier to entry,
right,
especially for young people. And
so
what I did was I went through college for business, and I tried a couple of jobs, and then at one point I was like, I'm going to really kind of sink my teeth into trading, and I'm going to get started, even with a small amount. My first account was $500, and I lost it all. Right, I blew that account up. My second account was $1,500, and I lost all of that too. It wasn't until I started with my third account, which was $2,000, that I got to where I'm at today. So losses are a part of it. Struggling is a part of it. And I knew that having to teach this to myself, there were going to be bumps along the road. And that's exactly what happened. Because I was aware of that from the beginning, I learned from my mistakes. And that's really the key. That's really what set me up for success later on down the road, was being open and being able to admit when I was wrong, analyze my performance, analyze what I did wrong. All of that, all of that really helped build me into what I am today. Now, when I first started, I would learn off of YouTube videos, articles on the internet, things that I heard people talking, or different traders talking about on television, CNBC and Bloomberg, et cetera. So, I kind of was just learning on my own. I was picking and choosing, and I joined chat rooms. I was on Twitter since 2008. So I was doing all of these things, but it really wasn't until I found Benzinga that I really started to develop that consistency. And the reason for that is because I had access to my own personal newswire. And that was really, really powerful for me. What attracted it to me at the beginning was the squawk feature, the audio squawk, being able to hear someone read out breaking news. I was like, oh yeah, that's a really, really fast way to get a hold of that news. And that's probably going to give me the best advantage that I'm going to be able to get as a little guy, just a little retail trader. And so once I found that, I started to learn how news affected stocks. I started to learn how I was going to trade specific stocks. I would watch certain stocks and see how they react to news. And then when I saw that setup come again, or a similar type of piece of news, I knew what to expect. And that just made it a little bit easier for me to trade. I learned early on that low floats were not for me, right? Low float stocks were not for me. They'd swing all over the place. I did not have my emotions in check. I would make really, really poor decisions. So I knew that I should just kind of move away from that. And as I started to refine my skill set, then I started to move a little bit back towards that. But for the most part, I still kind of stay away from them. So Benzinga it's really great. The tool itself, Benzinga Pro, the tool itself transformed how I look at the market, how I trade, and how I process news. And those are huge, huge catalysts. I wasn't relying on people in chat rooms to say, buy this or this looks good or anything like that. I was relying on the actual news catalyst. I was listening to earnings calls. I was reading analyst reports on different stocks. And that really set me up for, the rest of the trading journey that I was on.
Yeah, I think the squawk, I mean, basically the squawk just by itself, it's like having a professional hedge fund
Yeah.
tool right here at the fingertips of retail traders for, you know, I mean, I couldn't live without it, honestly. And, you
Yeah,
know, the
and
power of,
you're absolutely right, Andy. And I'll tell you that there are people that they will tell me, they like, look, I buy Benzinga Pro just for the squawk. And then they'll find other things that they get value from because there's a whole bunch of great tools in there. But that squawk is a huge driver. And I cannot stress to you enough, being able to just react when someone's talking instead of having to read or process or look things
right.
up, that really, really is an advantage. And it's not, I tell people every single day, don't think of this as a buy recommendation. Think of this as news being read to you. Some of that news you will want to buy on. Some of it you actually might want to sell on. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there. But for me, of all of the tools that I tried, Squawk was definitely the most helpful. And Charlie, our squawker here at Benzinga, he's been doing this for over 2 decades. He knows what he's looking at.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
amazing.
really, really helpful to have an expert do that for you.
Right. And for me over here, like, I also get to add upon that with my team. Basically, I have anybody reading and digesting the news, looking into 10Ks, 10Qs, what's the float on this play, all behind the scenes. So that helps me out a lot to where I can keep my eyes on the chart. And that's one of the coolest things about Benzinga is you have all these audible alerts too. So if you'd like to share your screen and let us know basically from scratch, how does somebody get started with Benzinga? And if you're coming to the morning with nothing in your mind at all, how is Benzinga going to lead you to the trades, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great question. And here's the thing, here's the caveat that I want to start with. Number one, there's no one rule fits for everyone. Everyone trades a little bit differently. And the thing about Pro is that there are many different tools in here that you can use. You're going to have to find out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So what worked for me is obviously the squawk. That's the first thing that we talked about. So when I load up Benzinga in the morning, the very first thing I do is I turn squawk on. I muted it here for our presentation, but otherwise this is on all day if I'm not on the telephone.
Right, me too.
This runs from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So this covers a lot of the earnings in the morning and the earnings after hours a lot of the times. And that's really helpful in and of itself. But the squawk aside, because again, anyone that tries that out is going to find the value of that right away. And you're going to be able to tailor it to your own trading plan and your own situation. But beyond the squawk, the very first thing I do every single day is I use the movers tool. And I actually have a workspace dedicated to it. You can actually create multiple workspaces that do different things. And one of the workspaces I have is, in fact, the movers tool. And so what you're looking at here is on the left, you have this movers tool that I'm talking about. And on the right here, you have the details tool. And normally when you first load the details tool up, it looks like this. It's going to give you a real quick chart. It's going to give you some other information about the company. And what I do is I actually click on the chart tab. And that gives me a chart that's powered by TradingView. And this is probably familiar to you and a lot of the people watching. This is literally TradingView's chart that we've added into Benzinga Pro. I really like TradingView as a company. I think they do great work. I like their products, and I absolutely love that we've incorporated it here into our offering as well.
If I could throw one thing out that I would love to see in the future, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
You guys could ever possibly work in a snapshot feature for the chart to where we can easily share it to social media.
Yes. So in TradingView, that's a great idea. You're actually not the only person that has said that. I actually was just dealing with one of our Stratter friends a couple of weeks ago who had the same suggestion. And she's absolutely right. There should be a little icon here that has a camera that allows you to take that snapshot and then tweet it out. In fact, let's go ahead and add that. Add snapshot feature to chart. The reason I'm adding this right now is because that's something else that I really, really appreciate about this product and the company as a whole. We view feedback as digital gold, right? So we're going to create features and patches based on what customers ask for. Your suggestion here on the snapshot is an excellent one, and you're not the only person to do that. So I'm going to try to speed that up here by submitting that as feedback.
That's one thing that's really great. I even said that in the stream today. I said, not only does Benzinga listen to their customers, they encourage your feedback. They want to hear it, and they make it happen. Like
100%. I mean, the way we look at this is that if this platform doesn't work for you, then it's not going to work for us. because you are the owner. All of the clients that use this, you're the owner of it. If you want to see, so one of the big things right now that's just kind of on topic is short interest, right? All of these stocks that are short squeezing, wouldn't it be great if we had all of that short interest data in Pro?
Scan for high beta, high short float,
So I'm going to tease this a little bit. We're actually working on that right now. I'm not going to make any promises. I don't have any timelines for you, but we're working on adding that data. We know exactly how important that is. And we want to do that. We want to put as much information into one place as we can.
Awesome.
So just to continue here with the movers, the reason this is the first tool that I use every day is because this is the best way to find what stocks are gapping. So let's review, again, just to recap, I have the movers tool on the left, and I have the details tool with the chart tab selected on the right. Now on the movers tool here, we've got a couple of filters up here, gainers and losers, gainers or losers. In this case, I only want to see things that are going up right now, right? I can look at them individually, but I'm going to start off with what's going up.
Right.
And then the other thing that I can do here is I can scan the different sessions, right? So when I first sit down at my desk, the regular session hasn't opened yet. We're still in the pre-market. So I'm going to select pre-market. And then for period, although I can split this into smaller segments, I actually want to know what's going across the entire pre-market, because that is going to end up showing me what's going to gap when the market opens.
Right.
You can apply a sector, a market cap, or a price filter here. For the sake of the example, I'm not going to do this. Sometimes I will just simply adjust this just to get this to a price range that I'm more comfortable with when it comes to those stocks. But for the example here, we're going to leave it blank. Or leave it unfiltered, excuse me. And that what we have here now is we have a list of stocks that are going up based on percent change. We have the top 100 stocks based on percent change. That would be the easiest way to say it. And what I do to prepare for the day is I just click on each of these. All right. I click on each of them. It will load the chart here in the chart tab, and I can actually review a daily chart. I can kind of look to the left, get an idea of what the stock is doing. Maybe there's some technical resistance that we need to pay attention to. I've also started seeing some of these candles as inside or outside bars. That's another story. We'll talk about that another time. And the other thing here is that if there's news, if our news desk has figured out why a stock is moving, we have this feature called "Why is it moving?" We abbreviate it as WHIM. And basically, this will just tell you why the stock is doing what it's doing. It's not on every stock. We try to do it on the stocks that we are certain of what's going on or have as much information, as much complete information as possible. And we obviously try to attack the stocks that are moving the most, right? So in this case here, we have Jan 1 shares are trading higher amid continued momentum driven by retail investor interest in the stock. So we've seen this in a lot of names. This seems to be one of them. And you can actually just click down all of these. So here's one that was up 88% in the pre-market. We don't actually have a why is it moving. One of the other things that you can do here is you can actually review the news yourself. I see that this is a halt fest. I wouldn't be surprised if you called a bunch of these on your stream earlier today, Andy, as you're quite adept at being able to spot stocks that are about to halt. But you can always review some of the recent news, and this will scroll back in chronological order. Maybe a piece of news from several days ago or several weeks ago is either being recirculated or is now in play and causing that stock to move. And
now,
I
Ryan,
can continue. Yeah, go ahead.
If you don't mind, do you ever scan by volume to see what the volume leaders are in the pre-market?
No, you'll notice that volume is listed here. Basically, volume is a secondary thing for me, right? So I want to see the stocks that are moving. And then once I'm interested in a particular stock, I'll examine its volume and compare it to its average volume,
now,
right?
Me,
so
I
say again?
click on volume up there and I'll adjust them by what the volume leaders are. That's one of the ways that I find what I'm trading, or also
nice.
by percentage change and do the same thing, whatever the top percentage gainer is over there in movers. And that usually brings my eyes to what's moving and what people are really profiting in the pre-market session, at least.
Well, and so that's a great example of how everyone can use tools a little bit differently. I actually start with percent change. You're starting with volume. I love that, Andy. I love starting with volume because, again, I don't want to be trapped in something that I can't get out of, right? I don't want to be in something that's illiquid. I want to know what's going on. And the other thing here is that this can actually tell you something. So if we take a look at this list here and we see that CTRM has an average volume of 96 million shares, but so far in the pre-market, it's already traded 205 million shares, excuse me. This tells me that there's something going on here. There's eyeballs here. There's something interesting going on here. Now this chart is a little wonky here. This is some crazy action, something that I would probably pass on. It's also quite a low price stock, but this right here can alert me to, hey, something's going on here. The stock normally trades 96 million shares in a session, in a day, and already before the market's open, we're at 205 million. So definitely something to take a look at. And you can see what happened here. So we had these violent movements in the pre-market. It really shot out of the open and then kind of traded down, and it's on considerable volume. It was on considerable volume yesterday as well. So this is just a very, very easy way to analyze that.
What this is, Ryan, is the first rule in penny stocks. I'm up, they see me, I'm down. We always anticipate that penny stocks are going to end up right where they started. If they don't, that's great, thumbs up, but this is what we expect from them.
Well, Andy, take a look at that. That's pretty awesome. You're only off by 1.5 cents here. So pretty good, pretty accurate there. Here's the next one in the list here. American Airlines had a huge beat this morning, and better than expected Q4 EPS and sales results. And we all know what happened to the airlines with the coronavirus. So look what happened here. This thing really just jammed in the pre-market, came back in, and as soon as the market opened, it just traded back down. So
obviously trading like a penny stock on this one.
Exactly. And that's the thing. If you were not aware that American Airlines was going to release their earnings, or if that just wasn't something that you were planning on or had pinned as an event, the movers tool now, with a couple of clicks of a mouse, now you're able to see all of that. I know that there are a couple others here. XSPA. This has been, Jason called this months ago when this was even under $1.
Right.
So it's crazy. It's a really nice tool to be able to see everything that's going on. PSAC. This is actually a SPAC. I traded this out the open. I actually caught. This was my day trade this morning. I actually caught this candle right here. I was lucky because my broker was lagging. That's, again, another story. But again, you can see very, very quickly what's going on, and you can set up your trading day. And what's so nice about laying it out in the details window right here is you're actually able to just do any of your technical analysis on here. This is a little bit rough with some of these huge gaps, but for the most part, with most stocks, you can actually do technical analysis right here and review the news right here and see key data right here. So it just makes it really, really easy and makes my preparation phase of my day much, much quicker.
Yeah, basically, I run a really quick, let people know that who Jason is. Jason Raznick's the CEO of Benzinga, and if you guys aren't checking out their live stream every day over there, the calls, the research, the news, I mean, talk about news-based trading, the amount of research that goes into these companies and information you get it's awesome. So
it's crazy. And you know what, Andy, the other thing is it's not just Jason or us or the news desk, it's our community too. You mentioned those midday shows. On Thursdays, we actually run happy hours in the evening, and the happy hour is a meeting-based format where other people in the community can come in, they can turn on their camera, they can turn on their microphone, and we talk about different stocks that people are trading. We talk about plays that happened over the week. We talk about what people think about the market. We try to get the community involved as much as possible. And some of the people in our community are professional traders and have been doing it for decades. And to me, that type of experience is invaluable. When I was teaching this to myself, I was learning from people that were more experienced than me. Now we've created a community where we're bringing all of these people together, and we're changing lives by doing it.
Oh, real quick, Ryan, if you wouldn't mind, would you mind showing us how do we find new highs? What's making new highs in the pre-market session, regular session? Anything that's really beasting out. And
yeah, absolutely. So we actually have a tool for that. So I'm just going to go ahead and add it to the to this particular workspace that I've got here. I'm going to go ahead and add my signals tool, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off the price spike. One of the signals that you'll see here are highs, and then another one here is lows. And these are both the same, except one's for highs and one's for lows. When I click on that, I actually have 3 different selections. I can have a session high, a day high series, or a 52-week high. Now, the first and third one are probably pretty self-explanatory. Session high is just a stock makes a new high in the day. It will alert you to that. A 52-week high, if the stock makes a new 52-week high, it'll alert you to that. The day high series is actually my favorite one. And what this is this is a slightly filtered down version of the session high signal. And the reason that this is important to me is because if a stock makes a new high on 87 shares traded, is that really an indicator to me? Is that really something that I need to pay attention to? Maybe not. Sometimes that happens. It's just part of the market. The day high series means that a new high has to be reached on 3 different trades in a short period of time. And that tells me that that high might stick, for lack of a better word. That might actually be a better indication. So you can very easily find this. If I turn session high on, you can see how chatty this signal is, right? Anytime any stock is making a new high, it's posting in here. And it can be very difficult to follow this because it's moving so quickly. So one of the things that I advise people do, if this is the signal that you want to use, if you want to see all of those highs, unfiltered, no matter what, one of the things I suggest you do is filter this by a watch list. So you can click on the filter button and then add a filter. We have a number of different filters that you can apply, but one of the ones I like to apply is a watch list, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to select my main watch list. And now this is much easier for me to follow, right? Much easier for me to follow. You can see it looks like it's not updating, but in fact it is updating. It's just only updating on the stocks that I watch on a regular basis. Right. All right. So you can really kind of tone the chattiness of the signal down simply by adding some filters. Conversely, let me go ahead and clear this away and go back to signals. Let me turn this off and I'll turn on the day high series. All right, so you can see here that this is not going to be as chatty of a signal, but it's going to give you more of those concrete new highs made. And if you're ever confused as to what that is, in the help section here, you can always scroll down to that, and it will tell you what that means. So so right here it says the day high low series is a filtered version of the new day high low signal. This can be helpful to help you find new day high low signals, or this can be helpful if you find that signal too chatty. This filter only sends a signal out when at least 3 new highs or lows within 2 seconds, and will wait until no new highs or lows are reached for another second before sending another block. So again, this is just, it's less chatty and it gives you more of an indication of those really strong new highs or lows being made.
And while you're there, I mean, another thing that's really important to our trading, basically you've went over majority of the trades that we find, volume leaders, percentage gainers, and then halts. And right there in the same, signals is halts. So if you wouldn't mind going over that real quick.
Not at all. So let me go ahead and turn this off. Now, just so you know, you can absolutely turn on more than one of these at a time. Right. I'm not, for the sake of the example, just to kind of show this, but if you discover that, day high series, halts, and maybe options with a filtered watch list is the bread and butter, the wheelhouse, if you will, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. If you were to turn all of these on, I mean, this thing would just keep scrolling with data, and there's a lot of data being processed. So make sure your computer can handle that as well. That's just a kind of a caveat here, but let me remove that. And we're looking at just the halts here. This signal is really, really helpful. In fact, I would say of all of the signals within our signals tool, the ones that I use the most are option activity, block trade, and halt. And this is good. Now, Andy, I got to ask you a question, because I view you as a halt expert. Do you often beat this signal? Like, do you say to yourself, this stock is going to get halted, and then all of a sudden you see that stock actually appear in the halts?
Yeah, if it's on my main charts, Ryan, I'm looking at the level 2. I see that we've got locked up. We got ever-growing walls on the bid or the ask. And that's the thing, I've been paying a lot more attention. Is it halting on the bid or the ask? And, you can pretty much say, okay, this stock's probably going to halt. This stock's likely to halt right now. And then next thing you know, coming right across the Audible, the notification that you have there, which I think is really amazing too. Like, I don't even have to look at Benzinga. Benzinga will tell me audibly that we just had a halt, on AMD or whatever it is.
And so that's another really cool feature that you were just saying. I'm glad that you brought that up. One of the things that you can do is you can click on notifications, and then you can click on sound or synthesized voice, so that if you're not actually looking at this tool, you can still be alerted to what's going on. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you have a bunch of signals selected and it's really chatty, and you select the sound or the synthesized voice, I mean, it's going to sound, you're just going to be do nothing but hear sounds all day. And I like to joke around, no, Skynet is not taking over. It's not becoming self-aware. You have an alert set on here, and it's a computer, robotic voice talking to you. So keep that in mind. If you're going to load this, if you're going to put those sound alerts alerts on, you might actually want to filter this down so that effectively you're filtering out the noise and you're only consuming information that's important to you.
Yeah, it's probably best that you don't have halts on with price spike and opening gap all at the open, because
Exactly.
you won't be able to. Yeah, it's just going to keep going and going, and you'll eventually just turn it off. But yeah, you got to filter that down. Yeah, right now for me, I just have it for the halts and price spikes when I have it. And that's about it.
Do you play options at all? Do you follow option activity?
Yep. We trade options, mostly just option scalps for us. And what we're doing right now is just long bias trading, majority in small caps. But yes, we do trade options, and I find the options activity to be really helpful. And, go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say this is probably my favorite signal, just because you don't necessarily have to trade options in order to benefit from this signal, right? Unusual options can tell you what the stock might actually do. So if a whole bunch of people are just sweeping up calls and they're paying at the ask or above the ask on these contracts, you can surmise that stock might move to the upside, and that might create a trade for you on the equity based on what you're seeing in the options market.
Right.
Now, obviously, if you want to follow one of these unusual options trades into it, of course, you can do that if you're experienced trading options, but you don't need to. You don't actually need to trade options to benefit from this signal. In one of our chat rooms here in Pro, we have a ton of people that actually scalp stock, just day trade scalping stock based on some of these options. The options move or some of these prints are so huge that the stock actually responds or moves in concert with those, and then traders take advantage of that movement. So again, it's just another way to find an opportunity to get in there and make some money.
Well, Ryan, so far, basically, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us, and I would love it if you'd come back on and maybe go more in depth of how you use it for yourself, and we can go more over the options activity and maybe help people understand that more as well.
I'd love to. Andy, we could probably spend an hour or two going over some of the stuff, especially if we were talking about options. Let me leave you with one more thing here real quick. One of the tools that we have in here is called the calendar tool. Let me go ahead and clear some of this stuff out. I actually I was doing some filtering here, so I'm going to clear these away, and I'm going to show you why I think this is one of the better tools in here as well. So let me go ahead and clear some of these filters away. I apologize. All right. So the calendar tool is really cool. We actually have 13 different calendars. So I've loaded up the calendar tool here, and you can see right at the top, I've got a drop down here, and it was on Analyst Ratings. I was at the beginning of this presentation saying that analyst ratings are one of the things that I looked into, and I still do. I still want to know what some of these firms and funds think about the different stocks. But you can see here we've got 13 different calendars, ranging from analyst ratings to earnings to economic numbers, IPOs, and unusual options in a table format and in a more filterable format. So if you've never used this particular tool before, I highly suggest you play around with this. I'm almost certain that you're going to find one of these calendars to be helpful, whether it be, planning out what earnings trades are going to see, or you want to say, let's see what stocks are trading or have their earnings prints next week. Now I can go through this list. If I want, I can filter it by my watch lists, so I can kind of cut that noise down. So there's a ton of different tools in here that you can use for research, day trading, swing trading of any price. You can trade options, you can trade stock. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
And the coolest thing is absolute powerhouse, but it's simple to use. That's the biggest thing about Benzinga Pro. It's that powerhouse you need that basically, I mean, without it, I couldn't do what I do. So I need it, and as well as TradeStation 10. Like those two combined, basically, that's what I need to trade every day.
And that's awesome to hear. That's, again, one of the core mottos of Benzinga as a company is trying to make financial information easier to consume. And when it comes to retail traders are always going to be at different skill levels. And if the barrier to entry is high, then it's harder on those that are starting out. And Andy, this job is already hard enough for people that are starting out. You need money to make money. You can't day trade if you have under $25,000, which a lot of people don't have when they first start off. It used to be that there were fees on every trade. So entries and exits, a little bit better now depending on your brokerage, but that still might be a barrier to entry. So one of the things that we wanted to do as a company is anything that we produce, we want it to be easy to use. And if you don't understand something, we want to help you. Because again, if this doesn't work for us, or excuse me, if it doesn't work for you, it's not going to work for us. Right. So if you can spend less time actually using and learning how to do the platform, you can spend more time studying technical analysis, reading reports, figuring out what the market is going to do, creating your plan, and then executing your plan. All of that is going to lend to being a more consistent trader and then ultimately higher profits.
Well, Ryan, that's pretty amazing. Thank you so much for coming on today. And hopefully, would you mind coming back and telling us more about Benzinga Pro and maybe your own trading style and how you profit? And actually, next time, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to hear about traders that you've learned from and what you've learned from them.
Absolutely. I'll come back anytime that you ask me, Andy. I really appreciate you having me on.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Have a good day.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Order filled. Check us out.
You know what time it is.
This is the Mighty Soldiers exclusive.
Yeah. Let's get it. Let's get it. If you wanna take it to the streets, let's get it. If you wanna take it to the booth, let's get it. I'm about to take it to the top, let's get it. We ain't never ever gonna stop, let's get it. You ain't never heard nobody spit like this. Call the paramedics when I get like this. Front page news when I wreck like this. Hop in the booth and I wreck that shit like,
If you with the squad, then you already know what's up. It be going down, but my account is going up. I'm about to make another $100,000. Rolling up that chain, I'm about to take another puff.
Hold up, I made a killing, now my pockets got swollen. Independent, now I'm taking over. I'm a lot richer, you a lot broker. I'm a pot smoker, stockbroker, blowing up like a supernova. On my mama, I was born a soldier, the best in the game, man. I thought I told you. If you wanna take it to the streets, let's get it. If you wanna take it to the booth, let's get it. I'm about to take it to the top, let's get it. We ain't never ever gonna stop, let's get it. You ain't never heard nobody spit like this. Call the paramedics when I get like this. Front page news when I wreck like this. Hop in the booth and I wreck that shit like, I am unstoppable, I can do anything I ever wanted to. Never did anything they ever wanted me to. Got on my side and I'm not gonna lose and they not gonna win. I see them, the haters, it's all cause I'm getting dollars again. Commas on commas on commas, I'm buying the dip. The market is dropping again. I can see him hating from the sidelines. If you see a hater, tell him bye-bye. Watch my money grow, grow, grow. And my wifey like, whoa, 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 whoa. Somebody better stop me cause there ain't no competition and I'm coming for the top position. Obliterating the opposition every time that I jot it in the composition. Everybody wanna stop and listen cause I bring it to you hotter than the oven in your mama kitchen. I'll be getting hit like a politician. I'ma get bread when you stack looking taller than Scottie Pippen. Ain't nobody ready for the Armageddon when I pop the clip and I ain't playing. I'm spraying you brain, I'm bringing the pain like Damon Wayne. You disappear like David Blaine. I'm dropping bombs, Saddam Hussein. Stop and aim, pop you lames and pop champagne. I ain't playing so stop the games, you know the name. If you wanna take it to the streets, let's get it. If you wanna take it to the booth, let's get it. I'm about to take it to the top, let's get it. We ain't never ever gonna stop, let's get it. You ain't never heard nobody spit like this. Call the paramedics when I get like this. Front page news when I wreck like this. Hop in the booth and I wreck that shit like,